Have any of you ever gone polar plunging before? Yes, the activity where you jump into freezing cold water with only your swimwear on. Today, I will tell you my polar plunging experience and how it ended in absolute chaos and on the way to it. Let's get into it. So, I was on a retreat with one of my 2 youth groups, and a few of us, it was me, my group leader Josh, and Greg. We'll just call him Greg. So us 3, we wanted to go polar plunging, but the rest of the group didn't. But so basically, there was a set time where all the people in all the camp, no matter what youth group or church you were from, everyone had to meet at this one spot at this certain time to go polar plunging. So we all gather our towels. We're fully dressed because we want to stay warm until we actually have to strip down to almost butt naked and get into the ice cold water. But yes, we all meet up at the meeting point at the time. It was sometime like mid-afternoon, but we're all there, and we see this group of guys, and they are shirtless, and they're running around in shorts. They are basically ready from the very start of the journey just to go polar plunging. They are decked out already. They are all ready. They're too excited. So we were like, what are you guys... We didn't say this, but we were like so confused what they were doing in shorts and shirtlessness in 29-degree weather. So, anyways, we're all here, and we start to go into the woods. And so we're walking through the woods, and there's this group of guys leading the whole big mob of people who want to go polar plunging. And we're really trusting them that they will bring us to the spot that has an open hole. And we asked them, where are we going? And how do you guys know? And they're like, oh, it's okay. We do this every year. There's always a hole in this specific spot. Nothing to worry about. And so we're all following them. We're like, okay, let's go. So we're walking through the woods. And first of all, this is the dead of winter. There's snow everywhere. It had just snowed in our area. And everything's covered in snow. So you cannot see a thing you're stepping on in the woods. So if you step on a log, you could twist your ankle right there and then and have to be sent home or something. So this is already very dangerous. And we haven't even gotten to the worst part yet. So we're following these guys, and Josh, me, and Greg, we are all walking. And there's a guy walking in front of me, and he's rocking an awesome short sleeve t-shirt with the Star Wars, the Rebels logo from Star Wars on the back of it. And he's carrying around a guitar. Yes, a whole guitar strapped on his shoulder, wearing an awesome Star Wars t-shirt in the dead of winter in frozen woods. Like, man, that's awesome. But, yeah. So I was like, whoa. You don't see that every day. But yes, we're continuing, and after a few minutes of walking, we get to the first location. And we look at it, and it's completely frozen up. The creek is all iced over. And so we're like, where do we go now? And the guys are like, oh, don't worry, we have a second spot just for any situation like this one. Any circumstances, we have you covered. Let's go. And so we are following these guys now to the second location they have in mind. And after a few minutes of walking, we get there. And again, it is all frozen over. And we're like, what are we gonna do now? And yes, it was so cold outside, it was super difficult to find a hole in the ice that was big enough and deep enough to go and fully submerge yourself in ice water. And we asked the guys, well, where are we going now? And they're like, don't worry, we have a third location to go polar plunging in. Let's go. And so we're all following them again. And we are hiking, we're trekking, and watching every step we do just so none of us rolls an ankle, falls face forward, cracks their neck, and breaks it, and then has to be sent to the ER. We are being so careful in these woods. It's so dangerous. And so we're moving, and then we get to the third location. And finally, we see an opening. And the guys are like, see, we found one. It's an opening. Nothing to worry about, guys. We got you. And so, I'll say this. So the frozen creek was in between these two land masses. On the side we were walking on, which was an elevated hill, by the way. So there was this risen land, which is really steep. And we had to walk all over that. And on the other side, the frozen creek, it was more flat land. So we're on the more hilly side, and the guys are like, guys, in order to get to our polar plunging spot, we have to cross and walk on the ice. And we're like, what? And we're just like, okay, we'll do it. We are going polar plunging no matter what. So we get on the ice, being super careful not to slip and fall. And when you put a lot of people on a sheet of ice that's frozen over a whole creek, there's a lot of weight going on that thing. So we are all taking tiny steps to cross the ice super carefully. We had to walk across the whole creek just to go to the polar plunging opening. And so we're walking for about 2 minutes, and the group of people, we reach this area. And it's like a thin strip of ice that we have to cross over in order to get to our spot. And on the thin strip of ice, there's this tiny hole. It's small, but it's just big enough to engulf your legs into it if you were to stand in it. And all around the hole was a slope angle of ice. The ice was at an angle sloping into the hole, which was super dangerous, by the way. Just walking on ice was dangerous already, but this hole was like a little black hole if it was ice. So we were walking, and people are slipping and falling ahead of us. We're like, what are we going to do? So when Josh, Greg, and I come along, we are super careful. Josh and Greg go ahead of me, and then it's my turn, and since it's so thin, the strip of ice, you're not always walking, so sometimes we stop. And I stopped, and I was moving. I was so confused while I was moving. I looked down at my feet, and I am sliding into the hole in the ice. Slowly but surely, I am moving, and there's not a thing I could do about it, because if I moved one of my 2 feet on my legs, I would slip and fall. So I'm like, guys, help me, I'm falling. I'm getting sucked into this tiny hole in the ice, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm like, help me, guys, I'm sliding away. And so we form a full-on man chain of men, and they grab onto my arm, and they are hauling me back. They slide me to safety back onto the flat ice, and we continue our way. Thank God I or no one else slid into that tiny hole of a black hole in the creek. So we walk a few more minutes, and we reach this small, flat piece of land. So we go onto the land, and there are these bushes with no leaves on them. And we all begin to strip all of our clothes off except our swimwear. And you know what we do? We just set the clothes on these branches. Yes, we turn them into coat racks for us as we were polar plunging. Thank you, little bushes that held our clothes for us ever so nicely as we were submerging ourselves in freezing cold ice. But yes, it was so convenient. It was so nice. And so people start going into the little hole that's just so deep enough and so big enough for a human to go in and come back out. So people are going already. And then as we're stripping our clothes, Greg, he is like, he can't handle the cold. He is just shook. He boxes himself up. He squats down on the ground, and he just freezes. He's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And by the way, I looked down at his feet. He was wearing Crocs in the dead of winter, below freezing level. And while we were going polar plunging, of all events, he decides to wear Crocs and socks. But Crocs are not winter shoes. Save that for the summertime. Just wait half a year or so. You'll be fine. Then it's appropriate. But during the dead of winter when everything is frozen, I'm sorry, but put those things away for another time. But it is then Josh and I left. We are the only two guys in our group who are going to polar plunge. So Josh is starting to back down. He's like, I don't know. Just because Greg was done, Josh was starting to second guess himself. But I was like, if you do it, I'll do it, because I'm doing it no matter what. And Josh was like, all right, let's go. So Josh goes up first, and he's in his swim trunks. That's all he's wearing. So he walks out onto the ice slowly but surely. He sits down on it, and then just bloop. Josh is gone. And then a few seconds later, whoosh, he's up again. He is drenched, all the cold water droplets running down his whole body. He's climbing out of the ice and goes straight to his towel. I'm right behind Josh. I'm like, what did I just witness? And I just realized that was going to be me in a few seconds. So I started walking up. I was on the ice then. And here's a little known fact. When I go swimming in the summer at a pool or the beach or whatever, I always have a shirt on. I am a shy dude. I do not like showing my whole front torso for every single person's little eyeballs to see. That you do not need to see that. I'm sorry. But you're not taking a look at my upper half any day. So I made an exception. I was like, how many chances in your life do you get to go polar plunging? Let me take my shirt off in 29-degree weather. And so I did. I was wearing nothing but my swim trunks. And I was then on the ice, slowly walking towards the black hole in the ice. I could see nothing. It was black, just black. And I was like, I honestly didn't know what to think. I was like, is this the end? What's going to happen next? Are you sure? You want to do this? But I'm going. Deep down, I knew, I was convinced I was doing it. So I'm walking on the ice, and I was immediately numb. I couldn't feel my feet, then my legs. And as I was walking, I sat down. There, my butt was gone. I couldn't feel my buttocks. And then my torso started spreading up. And then I just went, bloop. I was under the water. I opened my eyes. Darkness all around me. And then I looked up. I saw the rays of the sun shining down into the water. And so I was like, it's so scary, but so beautiful at the same time. It felt like forever I was under there. But then I knew my time had to come. And so I jumped back out of the water. I came above water. I was just standing in it. And all the water rushing down, it was so heavy. It was so cold. I couldn't feel a thing. At that moment, I had lost my sense of touch. I could not feel a single thing. And so I'm climbing out of this hole to not freeze to death and become one with the creek. I climbed out of that hole just like Boba Fett climbed out of the Sarlacc pit. I was ready to get dry. I went straight for my towel. I was so cold, I wasn't even shivering. I was so slowly moving. I was completely freezing up. So eventually everyone goes. We all get our clothes back on. And as I'm doing that, I look down at my foot. I see a little red dot. I'm like, what is that thing? And I get a little closer look. It's a drop of blood. Yes, I cut my foot open, the top of my foot, just a little bit. It wasn't serious, but I was bleeding a little bit. I was like, oh well, I'll be fine. And so I just put my sock on, put my shoes on, and I was ready. As we were all ready to go, there was this one guy standing there, and he did not look the best. we looked down at his pants, and Josh was like, "Whoa, what happened, man? Are you okay?" And so I looked down. There was blood bleeding through his gray sweatpants from his knee. Yes, when he was under the water, there were sharp and painful rocks. Not like we could feel anything or something, but yes, it sliced his knee open. He was gushing out so much it bled straight through his gray sweatpants. And Josh was like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine." He's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good." And we're like, "Okay." And so we all start to walk back across the ice again. We walk for a few minutes, and then we get to the hole. And we know this is bad. So I was in the back again of my group anyways. We help Greg up. We all start walking. We get to the hole, and Greg goes before me. And actually, I got ahead of Josh this time. And so we're all walking. Again, people are sleeping at this area, but we help him back up. Just like we do to us brothers and sisters. And so we're going. And then I hear, "No!" And then I look down. And it's Josh on the ice, laying flat down on his stomach with his feet almost in the ice black hole, and he is sliding in. I look at him, his arms are fully extended and stretched out ahead of him. He is grabbing on to the dead plants on the land just to prevent himself from falling into this hole of darkness and of the ice. That was the only thing preventing Josh from becoming one with the river, was holding on to the dead plants on the shore. He was doing whatever it took just to not be submerged again and not submit to the creek. So we quickly helped Josh back up, and we all carried on our way. As we were going, we finally got across the ice and into the woods. And so we're walking more. We are walking so slow, I literally felt my whole body like freezing up. It was hard to move, but we were going slowly but surely. After a long walk and a long trek through the forest, we finally made it back to our cabin, where I took the best hot shower in my entire life. This was the number one moment ever where I needed a hot shower, and oh boy, I enjoyed it so much. I was so glad I could get it. Obviously, Josh and I took them first because we just submerged ourselves in 29-degree water. Probably less, to be honest, because the air was 29 degrees, not the water. But anyways, we got our hot showers, and we're then all cozied up in our cabin, and we're just reflecting on what an adventure we just had and how dangerous and treacherous it was. And we were like, but we're glad we did it. Josh and I were like, yeah, we're doing this again next year for sure. And yeah, that was it. That was my polar plunging experience. First time, but certainly not the last. And boy, was it chaotic. It was so chaotic, in fact. It was almost like the time I participated in the Skittle War. If you want to go check out that video, It will be in the description or on the screen right now. But thank you all so much for listening, and God bless.